flag. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Commissioner Kelly? Here. Commissioner London?
Here.
Commissioner Hogan?
Here.
Chairman Obranovich?
Here. Okay, the first item is for public comment for items not on tonight's agenda.
Is this one? Sonia Cutler, 5630 Tudor Way, Loomis. I just would like to find out if I could get a clarification about the Citizens Committee for the General Plan update. I had talked to Mary Beth about putting my name in the hat for being on that committee, and since then I've talked to or heard from several other people that there's some kind of process as far as being selected to be on the committee, that the council chooses that group. And I would just like to find out more details about what the process is about that Citizens Committee.
Certainly. To address that question, we haven't, it'll be in the spring of next year when we actually form those committees and create, at council's direction, how many committees, how many people, that kind of thing. I've had a lot of requests from people they're volunteering to be on a committee. So anybody who's making that offer at this time, we're taking your name, we know how to contact you, and we will include you in that selection. So it's going to be based on council direction as far as how those committees are formed. So a little too premature right now to know what's going to happen in April, May, but when we get closer, it'll be part of our discussions. It'll be a planning commission recommendation to the council, then the council will form their formal decision on that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on items not on tonight's agenda? Okay, next we'd like to adopt tonight's agenda. Any comments or discussion from Planning Commission on tonight's agenda? Okay. If we have a motion to approve, please.
I so move. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved. Next, is there any public comment on the consent agenda? Consent agenda tonight is the project status update, public works project update, and draft minutes of October 8th, joint Planning Commission Town Council meeting, and draft minutes from October 22nd.
Can we get your volume turned up?
I'll speak a little closer. There. Sorry, thank you. Okay, we're talking about tonight's consent agenda. If there's any public comment on the consent agenda. We adopted tonight's agenda. Okay, so it's tonight's agenda will stay as stated in your handout. Okay. All right, then can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
I so move.
Second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda has been approved. Okay, the next is the business items. Tonight is going to be the COSTCO presentation, so staff and COSTCO will be presenting the project tonight. After their presentation, there'll be a brief or be comments and questions from the Planning Commission. Following that will be public comment, and then any further follow-up discussion from the applicant or COSTCO. So could we have staff, please?
Yes.
First of all, we have to get it open. There we go. That's not it. Usually it's down here. There it is. All right. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. My name's Anders Hauge, Town of Loomis project coordinator for the COSTCO project. Tonight, I'll be presenting information on CEQA and a bit on the status of where the project is. And then we have representatives from COSTCO here who will be describing the changes to the project since the project was last heard. One of the things is tonight, to let you know, and I'll talk about that in the presentation, but the recirculated draft environmental impact report will be recirculated on Monday the 25th. So next Monday, the draft environmental impact report will be circulated for comment for 45 days ending on January the 9th, 2020. And so tonight's is really an informational item for you. It's to bring you up to speed on where the project stands and the changes that have occurred to the project so that you have a chance to talk to COSTCO about what those changes are and help you understand the environmental document when you see that next Monday. Talking about the California Environmental Quality Act. First of all, the environmental impact report, which goes along as part of the CEQA document, is a disclosure document. And it's intended to disclose you as a decision maker and responsible agencies and the public about the environmental implications of your decisions that you'll be asked to make. The CEQA process encourages public participation throughout the process. It provides a mechanism for interagency consultation throughout the process. It is intended to avoid physical environmental impacts where it's feasible to do so, and it requires agencies to disclose the basis of their decision as you get to the end of the process. The procedure is that first there's a notice of availability of documents, and that notice will be going out published in the newspaper this Friday, and it will be mailed out to those who commented on the document and those within 300 feet of the project on Friday. It also provides a procedure for commenting, and in this case we're asking for written comments on the environmental document. It requires consultation with agencies, and I'll discuss where we have done that. It requires a response to every comment, and that's usually put together in the final environmental impact report. You had an environmental impact report that circulated previously. The decision was to recirculate it, and so there is no final environmental impact report on the prior draft. This now takes place of the draft, and this is a document that's going to be reviewed. And it also requires that the town provide a notice of decision once a decision is made. The draft analysis, there is a description of the setting, and that's the existing physical character of the site and its surroundings. There is a description of the proposed project, which includes infrastructure. There are standards in the document that measure if the impacts would be significant or not, and those are typically called thresholds, and you review the project against the thresholds. And also there's an analysis of the impacts of the project in relationship to those thresholds. So the environmental impact report contains that information. Also, the environmental impact report includes an analysis of alternatives, and those are alternatives that have the feasibility of meeting the objectives. It also lists proposed mitigation measures that would reduce identified significant environmental impacts to either less than significant or reduces them. It also analyzes the effectiveness of the mitigation measures in resolving those issues. And it includes studies, plans, and other information relied upon in preparing that environmental document. CEQA requires that the document be certified, and that would be done as a recommendation from the Planning Commission. The Town Council would do the certification. It also requires that the town consider mitigation measures in the certification of the document. and it also requires a consideration of alternatives and determining if you choose to implement an alternative. It requires that the town makes findings about how they came to their decision. And it also, in the case if there are environmental impacts, significant environmental impacts that cannot be mitigated, then it's required that you provide a statement of overriding considerations as to why you would be approving this project with those significant environmental impacts. There are two major review periods. One is a time to receive comments on the draft EIR. That's 45 days, and as I said, that will begin the 25th of November and end January the 9th. And then after comments have been responded to, a final environmental impact report will be released, and that's a time of 10 days for persons to comment on the final EIR. Obligations for the certification is the town has to certify that the EIR reflects the agency's independent judgment of the impacts. It's one of the things your town staff has been reviewing the document. The town has consulted with a firm to write the document, but the town is doing peer review and inputting into that document for an independent judgment. And you as a commission and the council also have to make their independent judgment and statement that the EIR reflects that judgment. The agency has to confirm that it has reviewed and considered the information in the EIR and the certification, and you have to certify that the EIR complies with the California Environmental Quality Act. One thing to note, the EIR certification is not project approval. It's a separate action to say that this document discloses the project and its environmental impacts and its mitigation, but it is not a project approval. Those are separate actions that the town will take after certifying the EIR. And so basically, it says here, the EIR sets a stage for considering whether to approve the project or modify it or not approve it at that point in time. So the town's decision then is do you certify the EIR? Do you approve the proposed project or an alternative to the project? Appropriate to consider entitlements, and in this case, there's recommended zoning code changes, conditional use permit that goes along with this applicant. Then also you're required to adopt the CEQA findings and if necessary a statement of overriding considerations in your decision, and you are to adopt the mitigation monitoring and reporting program that then goes concurrent with the project for the town to review to make sure those mitigation measures are in fact being implemented over time. Regarding the comments on the EIR, and this is not only for the commission but also for the community. First of all, the focus of CEQA is on the impacts of the project on the physical environment, and so it's commenting on those. Comments on the merits of the project are not relevant under CEQA, and they will not be responded to in the final EIR. But they are relevant to the town making their decision about the entitlements that are being requested. So one of the things I like to request is if you're writing comments, separate them. You have CEQA comments and then entitlement comments. It just makes life a little bit easier in responding to those. And if a comment addresses an issue that is based on a personal observation by the commenter, then providing factual information regarding those observations is encouraged and necessary in order to accept those. If a comment addresses a technical issue such as traffic modeling or biological resources, then the commenter needs to provide information explaining the basis for their comment or technical expertise in responding to the comment. So one of the things is the town has taken the responsibility of writing this EIR. Now those commenting have the same responsibility and obligation to be factual and objective in presenting their information in commenting on the document. This is a factual document, it's a disclosure document, and we want to maintain that. And if a comment is based on a technical study or plan, then that document that it's based on needs to be submitted with the comment so that we have documentation. As is the EIR that you will be receiving on Monday has the factual information, and those documents will be attached on a CD so that you have the actual documents upon which the EIR is written. A substantive obligation under CEQA is to avoid or lessen impacts where feasible. So it's requested that when comments are made that suggestions for potentially feasible mitigation measures are made, and then also explain how those measures would lessen or avoid the impacts. And also, when it comes to alternatives, suggest alternatives and explain how they avoid impacts or reduce impacts, and explain why they are potentially feasible, and that they will achieve the objectives outlined in the environmental document. So the overview of the process in a graphic form is that a project description is submitted. Basically, this is an application from COSTCO, and that was done in 2018. There was prepared and distributed a notice of preparation, which occurred in 2018. There was a scoping meeting held in 2018, and there was a draft EIR that circulated through June and July in 2018. In that process, a number of comments came in, and after the staff looked at the comments and looked at the ways to address them, it was determined that we would rewrite and recirculate the EIR to address those comments. So where we are right now is at a point where Monday, the EIR comes out for the 45-day review. After the review, then the town and their consultants will prepare the final EIR, which includes a response to each comment. Then there will be the 10-day public review period, Planning Commission hearing with your recommendation to the council, Town Council hearing where they will review and determine if they certify and make a decision on the entitlements. And once a decision is made, then there is a notice of determination issued and posted. And the purpose for that is beginning the period where somebody can challenge the findings and the determination of the town. So briefly, June in 2018, the draft EIR was released. And in July of 2018, comments on the draft EIR process was closed, and the town began to review those comments. So what's happened over the last 15 months? So between August and today. First of all, the town went into agency outreach. In August, we met with Caltrans, Placer County Resources Agency, Placer County APCD, Sierra College, and the city of ROCKLIN, where we sat with them and reviewed every comment they made on the EIR and discussed ways in which those could be addressed, if it was methodology or resolve some issues. With that, we went back and COSTCO modified their project. With that, we did traffic modeling and analysis and other analysis as part of the environmental documentation process. That information was shared with the agencies and back and forth, where we tried to refine the topics. And with that, then, this revised draft EIR has been prepared. I also wanted to mention that some of the outreach included going out on site with the United Auburn tribe. There were some questions about cultural resources, so we actually did a survey with the tribe on the site. Trying to think. Anyway, basically, those are the agencies that we worked with and coordinated in resolving issues moving forward. So, November 25th, the circulation begins. January 9th, it ends. Somewhere between January and March, there will be a final recirculated EIR, and there will be a circulation for 10 days on that document. March 2020, we expect to have a planning commission where the planning commission will consider the EIR and project consideration, and yours would be a recommendation to the council. In April, the town council will hold a public hearing, consider the EIR and the project consideration, and it's expected they will take action of some sort at that time. And then we're looking at May for the zoning ordinance modifications, a second meeting which is required when you're amending the zoning code. So that's generally right now where we think this process is. So for information, the website, and we are posting information, and there will be information posted on Monday at loomis.ca.gov. There is an email set up specially for comments, and that's COSTCO comments at loomis.ca.gov. Also, you can snail mail your comments in or hand deliver your comments to the town, and they will be accepted. So one of the things I wanted to go over is kind of where we stand on traffic improvements, and COSTCO is going to be talking about these in detail, but I wanted to go through this list briefly because it's by agency and where the jurisdiction is that these improvements are taking place, and then COSTCO will talk about their project and how those are being implemented. So traffic improvements are required and will be conducted in the town of Loomis, city of ROCKLIN, with Caltrans and the county of Placer. We have worked with each of these agencies in developing a fair share formula, which they have all agreed to that formula, and we have worked with them on actual costs. So for the county of Placer, the town is proposing to write them a check for fair share of a new signal at Taylor Road and Penrod Road, Sierra College Boulevard, English Colony Way, and Taylor Road and English Colony Way in those amounts. And those are the fair share amounts that have been agreed to by the County Resources Agency. Caltrans, we've worked with them. They have a project which is called a ramp metering upgrade that is to be constructed in the 2021 year. And the fair share of that cost is $628,000. So we have a agreement presently being reviewed by Caltrans where the town has agreed to fund the $628,000 to Caltrans, contributing to the building of that project. There's a draft agreement with the city of ROCKLIN that has improvement funding and also cooperation, especially when it comes to signal coordination in the town of, or in the city of ROCKLIN. The city has, or the town of Loomis has also recommended and is ready to pay the city of ROCKLIN $1 million in 3 installments to catch up on the Sierra College I-80 interchange. This is known as a CFD 11 in the city of ROCKLIN. The town of Loomis is not part of that CFD, so this would just be a cash payment to them. And they've also offered, the town's also offered to make an annual payment for 12 years of $69,700 into the CFD 11 for the town of ROCKLIN to use for improvements along Sierra College Boulevard. The improvements, and I'm going to go through these quickly, within the town of Loomis is to widen Sierra College Boulevard to provide 3rd northbound travel lane and a Class 2 bike lane from McDonald's all the way to Brace Road. I also widened Sierra College Boulevard to provide a 3rd northbound travel lane and 3rd southbound travel lanes from Brace Road to Taylor Road. Also to construct and stripe a northbound and southbound continuous bike lane in that same area, and to convert the current northbound dedicated right turn lane at Sierra College Boulevard and Brace to a through lane, and construct a new approximately 200-foot dedicated northbound right turn lane plus a 90-foot transition onto Brace. Also, Sierra College Boulevard and Brace restriped the westbound right lane to a shared westbound right lane, and that's in option 1B. So let me tell you, there's one project, but 3 options, and COSTCO will explain those to us, or to you, but primarily option 1 has access points on Sierra College Boulevard directly into COSTCO, and then 2 access points from Brace Road into COSTCO. Option 2 has the direct access on Sierra College Boulevard and 2 access points off Brace Road and a connection through the Petrovich property onto Granite Drive. And option 3 is basically what was reviewed in the first EIR, which is the 1 access point on Brace Road and 1 off Sierra College Boulevard. So 1B is the option that includes Granite Drive. There's also going to be improvements at Sierra College Boulevard, Taylor Road to modify the median, also to provide eastbound right turn lane overlap and phasing at Sierra College and Taylor Road. Install a signal interconnect between along Sierra College Boulevard, Granite Drive to Taylor Road. So actually throughout this process we're looking at an interconnect all the way from Interstate 80 up to Taylor Road so that the signals are coordinated in the entire length. Also restriping the northbound Sierra College Boulevard lanes north of the Union Pacific Railroad tracks to extend the two-lane section approximately 150 feet further north. This is a CIP project that the town has. It's not a mitigation, but one of the things we saw was the existing conditions. There's queuing impacts today on Sierra College Boulevard. And so by extending that lane across the tracks, right now you cross Taylor Road, you cross the tracks, and you have to merge immediately into one lane. So by providing another 150 feet, it eases the angst that you might have as you cross the railroad tracks, and hopefully that will speed up traffic through Taylor Road, the railroad tracks, in order to help alleviate queuing that is currently a problem. And also there is a proposal to provide an eastbound right turn overlap phasing and optimize a signal length at Sierra College Boulevard and Brace. And at the COSTCO signalized intersection, you know, I'm going to let COSTCO discuss this because they are building an intersection there, so they can discuss the improvements they're making to that intersection. Brace Road COSTCO driveway, again, I'm going to let them discuss that and show you the improvements that are being made on Brace Road as it comes into COSTCO. Also, we talked about installing the interconnect all the way from I-80 up to Taylor Road, and striping a northbound travel lane along the frontage of McDonald's and the Chevron property, striping a Class 2 bike lane. So, I'm sorry, these are projects in ROCKLIN now that ROCKLIN would have to agree to, and part of the MOU that has been submitted to them would say that we hope that you do this, and with that, that would mitigate some existing issues that have been identified by the project. There's also restriping of the southbound right turn lane on Sierra College Boulevard and Granite Drive. Restriping the northbound right turn lane approaching Granite Drive to a shared through right lane, providing optimized cycle lengths at Sierra College Boulevard and Granite Drive, providing optimized cycle lengths Sierra College Boulevard and the I-80 ramps, and provide eastbound right turn overlap phasing at Sierra College Boulevard and Granite Drive. To restripe the westbound through lane to the left turn and restripe the westbound right turn lane to a shared through at Granite Drive, and that's in options 1B and 1C only. And then on Granite Drive and ROCKLIN Road, provide optimized signal lengths with optimized splits based on the current demand. So there is a graphic that will be in the EIR that briefly shows these. COSTCO will have a similar graphic. We have provided the Planning Commission with that graphic so you can look at the various improvements being proposed as part of the COSTCO project. So at this time, I would ask that COSTCO provide their presentation on the changes that occurred to the plan, unless you have questions of me before we move forward.
Yeah, I just first want to offer the Planning Commission opportunity to ask any questions before we move to COSTCO. Okay, seeing no questions, thank you, Andy, and we'd like to welcome the COSTCO representative.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right now. There it goes, and then just hit the yellow button to make it go forward. Okay, thank you, Mike.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Michael Akuma. I'm the Director of Real Estate Development for COSTCO Wholesale. When we first met years ago, I said it'll be a long journey, and tonight we're getting that much closer for the project to come together. I'm here tonight to present the changes that were made since we last met. We've received a lot of comments from the public. We had a neighborhood meeting last March. At that meeting, we had discussed the on-site design, landscaping, wall design, lighting. Got a lot of good feedback, and in the project itself, we've incorporated those comments. We've met several times with both the county and the city of ROCKLIN to discuss traffic concerns. We've performed quite a bit of additional traffic studies over these months, and we believe that we've addressed all of their legitimate concerns that they have brought up to date. We believe we do have a much stronger and better project because of these meetings and all the comments we received. So let me go through the changes. Generally speaking, the site plan itself, first off, from the last initial design, we created a right turn lane from Sierra College northbound onto Brace by adjusting the site, moving the building a bit. It allows for right turn access onto Brace and provides a little bit more in terms of capacity for cars, vehicles making the right turn. Along the property line, along the residences, when we met with the residences, what we had done is we've increased the height of the wall. Originally, we had a CMU masonry wall, and we figured out the point was to try to protect all the trees by cutting the foundation for the walls. You're going to kill all the roots, thereby killing the trees. So we made some changes to the design to a more post and beam concrete precast with a decorative pattern that's on the wall itself. That protects all the trees. Also, we've raised the height of the wall to about 8 feet so that between the wall itself, the trees that is existing there, those neighbors will be protected from as a nice screening element from the parking and the Costco behind. Also, along the side, on the Costco side, we've had originally about a 45 foot landscape buffer that was intended to protect the trees. What we've done is instead of dropping the site down, we've kept the elevation current to what is there now that's consistent with the homes next door in the attempt to protect the existing trees so we don't undercut their roots. And then basically on the parking lot side, we've stepped it down to smaller pony walls, 2 foot, 3 foot walls to get to the parking beyond. All of this basically came out of our neighborhood meetings, and it was good. It was good comments that we received. We've also reduced the height of our parking lot lights down to 28 feet. It was originally about 36 feet, 37 feet in height. With the drop in the elevation of the parking lot, it's reduced the lights themselves quite a bit. So essentially, if you're in the residences, you'll see a wall, a tree, and you won't see the light source of the parking. So that also came out. We've added throughout the site motorcycle, bicycle parking as other modes and locations for parking on the property. Architecture, we've added some additional landscaping up against the building, and we've added trellises so those landscape elements, binding elements, can grow on them to help soften the elevation of the architecture. We've also modified the entrance element to create a little bit more breakup for the front entrance. As far as the landscape itself, based on our discussions with the neighbors, we're protecting more of the existing large oak trees along the perimeter. Also, what we've done is added more trees as infill trees. There's a lot of holes and spaces between the existing trees, so we've started to, and this is a graphic, but essentially we are filling in those holes with more oak trees. We've also planted much more oak trees along the perimeter and within the interior of the parking lot to help soften the parking lot itself. There's a more robust landscape plan that we're presenting today versus where we start from. This too came out of our discussions with the neighborhood. Again, we have, to repeat, that we've incorporated the design of the wall into the landscaping, and we are going to be further designing that wall as the project continues on so that we can ensure that the majority of the trees that are there are protected. At this point, let me, so I don't mess it up, I'm going to have my traffic engineer go through. There's quite a bit of traffic changes adjacent to the property and beyond. So at this point, let me have my traffic engineer, Chris Bramer, and he'll go through all the traffic in a little bit more detail.
Good evening. My name is Chris Bramer. I'm from Kittleson Associates, and I'm joined by my colleague Neelam here. She and I have led the analysis put together for the traffic. I'm going to provide a very high-level overview. You've already heard some information. A lot of this is going to be repetition, but I think maybe just looking at the map will help frame some of these things. Starting off with the site plan itself, a couple of the major changes have already been mentioned, and I'll just go around these numerically. The first two are as part of the frontage improvements along Sierra College Boulevard. We will be constructing, if approved, northbound right turn lanes at the main signalized access to the site, which is this location here. So there'd be a northbound right turn lane there, and then a new northbound right turn lane approaching Brace Road. The site plan itself, in the traffic study, there are 3 different options that are analyzed, looking at a combination of access points. One of the criticisms of the prior study was the number and location of access points. So there are 3 different versions of the site plan that are analyzed in the traffic study. All of them include a signalized access on Sierra College Boulevard. All of them include a right turn in, right turn out only access at Brace Road. Some of the options then include a secondary full movement access at Brace Road. Both of those would be available to the public. And then one of the options that is explored is a potential for a connection down to Granite Drive through the southern portion of the site. So different site plans look at the combination of those effects, and there are different mitigations tied to each of the different versions of the site plan. In terms of the off-site intersections, try to give everyone a frame of reference. So the site is here, Sierra College Boulevard, Interstate 80, and Taylor Road. Again, just going through along the site frontage, as you've heard already, the project would widen northbound Sierra College Boulevard to have 3 continuous travel lanes, the 2 right turn lanes I mentioned, as well as a separate bike lane all the way up that corridor between Granite and Brace. Their traffic signals would all be interconnected where they physically communicate with each other and would be linked so you could synchronize the traffic progression from the existing signals at Brace and Granite and tie in with the new signal serving the project, and then the timing plans would be updated to help traffic move efficiently through the corridor, progress it up and down to the interstate interchange. Down at the intersection of Granite Drive and Sierra College Boulevard, with some of the alternatives, those of you that drive the corridor today, has a northbound right turn lane that it becomes a drop lane into Granite Drive. As we widen and have 3 lanes northbound, some of the options would convert that right turn only lane into a shared through right lane, so you could continue all 3 lanes northbound. In the scenarios where Granite Drive is connected to the site, we would, in that scenario, recommend actually widening Granite Drive to provide additional left turn storage and capacity on that corridor. So there's some detailed widening and recommendations there if a Granite Drive connection were approved. Up at Sierra College Boulevard and Taylor, Andrew's already introduced to you, there are turn lane extensions and improvements up there, as well as signal phasing changes at the intersection. Over at the intersection of Webb and Taylor, there are some turn lane changes there at the stop-controlled side street approach. As was mentioned earlier, financial contributions to the interchange ramp metering project with Caltrans, that is part of the mitigation package, as well as for Placer County, multiple different financial contributions where we are adding trips to intersections that are known to have capacity deficiencies, and so the proportional share mitigation payment towards those ultimate improvements is being prescribed. There's also, just to wrap up, southbound on Sierra College Boulevard approaching Granite Drive. Today you have the short right turn lane that is a right turn on to Granite only. Some of the scenarios we've recommended converting that to a shared through right, subject to approval by the different agencies. So It's a long list of mitigations. I don't want to bore everyone with a lot of detail because you will see that in the traffic study, and there's a lot of different alternatives. But at a high level, our opinion is that these improvements do allow the site to be supported and provide the necessary transportation infrastructure to keep the system whole. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Michael.
So basically, that's our presentation tonight. With me, I have Jeff Burbridge, our landscape architect. So if there's any questions, anything that you have regarding the project, Chris, Jeff, and myself, we can hopefully address them.
All right, thank you very much for your time and your presentation. So I'd like to bring back to Planning Commission for any questions from the COSTCO presenters or of town staff. Okay, seeing no questions or comments. Next section is we're going to open it up to public comment. So public comment, we're going to kind of go over some of the rules about this and guidelines. It is a 3-minute time period for each person, and there is a timer. There's 3 lights. There's green, yellow, and red. Yellow, I believe, is at the 30-second warning at yellow. So also, please direct, as customary, to direct comments to the Planning Commission, not to staff or COSTCO, or certainly not to engage in conversation or questions with other people in the community. And your comments then will be recorded, and if any comments were to beg and request an answer or reply, staff will be writing and recording these, and then at the end of the comment period, these questions can be addressed at that point. So with that,
Get a picture put up on the screen.
get a what?
Get a picture of the whole layout.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Okay. Good suggestion.
Is that the one you want?
There are handouts out on the table. If you wanted to pick up a paper, I thought this handout was, it's kind of blown up and large. It's easy to see. Oh, is it different? Okay. All right.
There was a full size earlier. Okay, hold on. That was, I think that was it. We can do the landscape one. Yep.
Oh, and also when you step up to the podium, if you'd state your name, and you don't need to state your address, but if you'd let us know where you're from, Loomis or outside of town. Okay, we're open to public comment. Yes, sir. Up to the podium.
Richard Jackson, Loomis. Up there on Brace Road, you've got an exit going along the people's, the side where the community is, and it goes straight out to Brace Road, and there's a left and right exit there. That's exactly behind my house, and when we talked about this a year ago, they had that closed, and all they were going to have done was the people that worked at COSTCO have the opportunity to park there. And that was it. And now it's open, left or right, whichever. That puts a lot of traffic onto Brace Road. They don't plan on doing anything to, the headlights are gonna go right across the street onto another guy's property, right into his house. There's 2 people across the street when it gets this time of year. At 5 o'clock, it's still open, and they're going to be inundated with lights. My issue with it is the traffic. It's going to go up around our house, and it's just going to be just ungodly. They haven't said for sure, but I heard 58,000 cars a day go up and down Sierra College. Some of them turn, some of them go straight. I'd like to know the final number on that when they get their traffic situation laid out. But that shouldn't be right behind our house. That shouldn't be a traffic area. It should be closed, like they said at the first meeting. that we're going to close that off. No public parking won't be there, employee parking only. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Oh, one other thing, sorry. Who's taking care of the weed control right now? They've owned it for over a year, and it's a fire trap coming right toward everybody on that back street's house. It's nothing but dry brush.
Okay, well, town will address that also.
Well, they
They'll
haven't.
find the answer,
They
and,
did not address it, and I called this year.
I mean, they'll answer your question and as who's to
Okay.
doing it. Okay.
Hello. My name
Hello.
is Bob Agushchik. We live in Loomis, and we also own the Sierra Meadows Apartments that this project's gonna imprison. I've also been told, since this whole thing started circulating, that we would not have an entrance on our east side, that the only entrance would be for trucks on the west side of us. And about a month ago, COSTCO sent over this site plan and said, well, we're looking at doing this. What do you think of this? And I said, it's absolutely ridiculous. And that's the last time I talked to him. I have a letter from COSTCO's attorneys, just October 15th, 2019. The last line in their letter said to me, COSTCO will not interfere with your client's access as it currently is being exercised, period. Why are they writing this to me and then presenting this to the public? You know, if they're going to close off my access and make my tenants come through the parking lot, you try to get through Roseville parking lot to get to your house. It's just, it blows me away, and I feel like there's been no cooperation. I've had to hire an attorney because when I ask hard questions, they don't get answered. And that's just one of the problems. Let's see. I'd like to know exactly what they're going to do to Brace Road. Are they going to widen it? They talked about widening Granite Drive to accommodate traffic. Are they going to widen Brace? And if they do, are they going to take away all our street parking that's been there for 50 years? How are we going to get in and out if they have that raised median preventing a left turn out from the COSTCO parking lot? That also prevents us from making a left turn that we've made for over 50 years. I just don't see how that whole Brace Road access is going to work. And I've never seen a development developed around a residential community like that, basically surrounding us on three sides with walls. The site plans aren't even drawn correctly. The one that's drawn here tonight shows the screen wall. Actually, the one that was sent out, I think this one here too, shows the screen wall being right on the existing property line, which COSTCO and I already have an agreement to move that property line 43 feet, but they're not showing it on their plans. So again, I'm confused on what's going on, and I wish someone would tell me.
All right, thank you very much.
So my name is Daljeet Bains, and I live in Rocklin, and we also own the business here on Sierra College and Granite, the ARCO AMPM. Thank you for the opportunity to ask you questions, and thank you to COSTCO for allowing us to see the modified site plan and the improvements. I've been following this project, I have to make it quick, I've been following this project for 3 years, and I'm really shocked. They're making an effort, but when you have a site plan that's restricted and you have accesses that are limited, you can only do so much with it. I would compare it to a full glass of water. When there's water at the top and you keep putting water on top, it's going to flood. It's going to provide significant negative impacts around the area. As you can see, you're hearing that from your own residences that are in Loomis. You're hearing it from your own businesses that will impact Homewood Trust. You will hear it from other potential people that own other businesses in Loomis. So when you invite someone to your territory, it's important that you have the infrastructure prepared and in place when you're inviting a big project like COSTCO. The answer is 12,110 cars were identified in the EIR in 2018 when that EIR was released. 12,110 cars into a population of 6,800. That's the population of Loomis. You were inviting twice as many cars into your town, into an area that has restricted access. And the answer, the other thing, the site plan there, okay? They're correct. There's 3 homes there. Why can't COSTCO spend the money, mitigate the significant impacts in front of us? I have pictures, if you ever want them. You guys have seen some of them. I've individually sent them to some of the council members here, okay? The traffic on the corner of Sierra College and Granite is excessive right now. The improvements that you're proposing right now potentially are not going to mitigate those improvements, even if they are out of your territory and you want to define them as significant, unavoidable, because they're not in your jurisdiction. COSTCO in 2018 had $141 billion in sales. They made $3 billion. If they need to, it's not a significant hardship for a company like that to spend the money and take care of the mitigation in your town. Now is the opportunity. But for us, the residences and the businesses, and for all of us to look at this project and say they're going to restripe stuff and add a lane, I'd like to ask the other question. Is it true that there's one lane coming northbound and southbound into COSTCO? Is there one lane? I would like that question answered by the end of today, because you guys were asking questions. Is there one lane? The Roseville COSTCO has 3 lanes going over the freeway, has multiple access points. So does Folsom, so does Citrus Heights. And then there just made revisions to get on the freeway, made ramp revisions to that as well. So is one access, major access, sufficient for COSTCO for a project that's going to bring over 12,000 cars a day? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Laura Easton. I'm from outside of town. I just had a quick question about the EIR, and we were talking about the CEQA earlier. I noticed there was a lot of talk about methods of mitigating traffic, which of course is important, but I also wanted to bring up the concern about mitigating pollution and other environmental impacts.
We okay back there?
Yes.
Okay.
There's chairs in front.
All set? Okay. Sorry for that. That's
no
okay.
problem.
No problem.
I just want to make sure you're okay. Okay, good. I wanted to also address mitigating pollution and environmental impacts, such as use of natural resources and pollution from cars. I just wanted to see what the methods are that COSTCO is planning on using to mitigate those and to subsidize, I guess, the population of Loomis for the pollution that is bound to occur from that.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you for allowing us to talk here. My name is Ken Hallmeyer. I own the property that's kitty corner from COSTCO, across the street from the lumber place, and I've had that for about 10 years. And my concern after seeing the map here at the intersection of Brace and Sierra College, that we've always been told for years that, you know, the Brace right now has a cement island in the center, and that was originally put in years ago to stop the flow going from Brace all the way over to Taylor, because they were having a lot of accidents there down by the bar there. So they put that in as a temporary thing. It's been there for years. But my problem is when we develop that corner, or Harmon develops his corner, the way this map looks like, there's no left-hand turn lane going where they're adding their new right-hand lane. There's no left-hand turn lane to go westbound on Brace. So the way it looks like here, they just have these lines drawn like they're just closing that off. It's like, well, there would be no access to our lot. And it's like, we have to take a helicopter in there or something. And so I'm asking that, I understand if they're doing this now, and maybe when ours is developed, if that we could at least see that the plan acknowledges that there will be a left-hand turn lane when that intersection's done that goes down Brace, and that's a full intersection to make those properties functional, or they would just be non-functional, right, because you can't get into them. So I'm asking that there be a revised map that shows that this will be done to give us some peace of mind, knowing that we have a commercial lot that's actually functional. So, and I appreciate that. And then also, who is going to be responsible for the cost of that intersection? And would like to know that as COSTCO picking up the bill for doing all this. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Good evening. My name is Adam Nurani, and I live at 5993 Moretta Lane in Loomis. And my family is the owners of the Homewood Building Supply property. My father started the business in 1990, and we moved to that location today. Gosh, was it 2013? You were all part of the process, if I recall. Anyhow, so Homewood has been a very successful company in the town of Loomis. And while we no longer own the business, we still own the land. But the business is prospering, and I imagine it is a good part of the tax base for this community. So I just want to really impress upon the council and the planning commission that we really would like to have you really pay attention to the impacts of this project on the Homewood operation. In particular, the Brace Road access points could become very detrimental to the operation. We do rely upon bringing a lot of cars, large trucks in and out of off of Brace Road and Sierra College, and it would be really difficult if we had a lot of backed up traffic leaving COSTCO on Brace Road, trying to bring a semi-truck out of the lumberyard could be a real problem, especially certain times of the day. So while I overall don't have a problem with the COSTCO operation, and some parts of me support that, I am in opposition to the idea that we're going to bring access points or entrances and exits from COSTCO onto Brace Road. It surely seems like that road is not going to be designed to handle that kind of traffic. Right now, we bring a lot of vehicles, a lot of trucks that are going to enter the Sierra College entrance into Homewood. At times you may notice that sometimes they're waiting to get into the lumberyard right now, and that could continue to be a bigger problem as time goes on. So I'm asking, just please be sensitive to the operation. While they are our tenant, Homewood Building Supply LLC is our tenant. They're also important to you as taxpayers for this community. So that's pretty much the point that I wanted to make, is the access onto Brace Road is a problem for us, and also we will also lose the opportunity to share that parking that we use on Brace Road as well. Thank you so much.
I'd like to just kind of interrupt for just a moment. There's one of the little rules of kind of a nicety is we encourage people not to applaud, because it kind of implies a bias for and against. It's not fair to people who may agree or disagree with the opinion, and it works both ways. So that's just kind of a general request. Thank you.
Marilyn Gauchi from out of the area. Could we have the map put up that shows the entire area? I want to talk about Brace Road, and it doesn't show on that map. Yeah, that map.
Which one? That one?
Yeah.
Have to go to a different presentation. kind of small, but.
That'll work.
Okay.
So the traffic study did not even mention the fact that where Sierra College goes from the freeway to Taylor Road and it intersects with Brace Road, there's a lot of talk about Brace Road to the right. Brace Road goes to the left over to Taylor Road. That was never even talked about. That is a road that now exists, and traffic from COSTCO could certainly be coming off Taylor Road along that part of Brace Road or leaving to get over to Taylor Road along that Brace Road. That Brace Road is interesting because it's my understanding it's half paved. I still have not determined yet whether it's in ROCKLIN, in Loomis, or half in ROCKLIN and half in Loomis. I'm still trying to determine that because I'm being told two different things from Loomis and ROCKLIN. So I would like your traffic study to give some attention to that part of Brace Road because it's likely that if nothing's done, you've got basically a one-lane road there with traffic pouring on it trying to get a shortcut over to Taylor Road.
Roger Smith, 6755 Wells Avenue. Seems like every time I've been at any public comment podium in the last year or two, it's been about traffic concerns, and those are very valid concerns here in Loomis. Previous EIRs, and let me just say, first of all we're seeing here is a map of the immediate project vicinity. I'm very concerned about downtown Loomis. And first of all, I do hope the town will insist that the traffic study focus very carefully on the downtown Loomis impacts, not just the immediate impacts to the main thoroughfares around the project. Previous EIRs have shown that levels of service dropping to E and F at both Horseshoe Bar Road and King Road. We have a tsunami over there of traffic between the grammar school and Del Oro High School and the one access to I-80. And of course this project or the village, the proposed village projects, were going to greatly impact the downtown Loomis area. So yes, the traffic study, I heard mention briefly of a Webb Avenue restriping or something. That's not going to cut it. And I'm sure the studies are looking at downtown Loomis, but I would certainly tonight like to have seen more discussion of the downtown Loomis area as potential impacts. In previous visits to the podium, most of you probably know I'm a champion of a big solution to Loomis traffic being, and something that should be considered as an alternative in some of these mitigations is access to I-80 from King Road. That's the long-term solution to Loomis traffic, and I hope that will at least be looked at as part of mitigation measures for the COSTCO project. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Pat Bach. I live in the unincorporated section of Loomis, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with the commission and also to hear the comments by the COSTCO and staff folks who are here tonight. I love COSTCO, and I'm delighted that they may be my new neighbor 3.5 miles from my home off of Horseshoe Bar in Val Verde. My major concern, consistent with other comments that have been made by others prior to me coming up here, is really traffic mitigation. One of my questions regards the initial Kittleson traffic study. I didn't review it today prior to the meeting, but did submit a question for the original EIR that talked about the data that were used to create the traffic study were between 11 and 17 years old. I'm not a researcher, but traffic changes a lot, as we've seen in the past few years in our own little town. So my question is whether, in fact, Kittleson or whomever is doing the additional traffic evaluation has utilized more recent traffic data and also traffic data consistent with the type of environment that we live in. It's sort of a mixed-use environment. So that's one question. And the other question really regards the traffic mitigation I have not heard addressed, which is what happens, and the gentleman before me just mentioned King Road, Horseshoe Bar. I mean, my conversation prior to Bob King leaving was that 20% of the traffic of this, say, 11,000 cars a day would be absorbed or would come in through the arterials north and south of Interstate 80, which means maybe 1,500 cars a day in my area, which is around Horseshoe Bar. That's a lot of traffic for two-lane roads to absorb, and there's not been any comment whatsoever about any mitigation efforts looking at those arterial feeder roads that would bring traffic into COSTCO. So I think traffic is a major issue that we've all talked about, and I hope that there's additional attention paid to it by the Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Tyler. I'm ROCKLIN, and the company I represent is actually shown on that across the street. It's the only building in that open field. It's 50 acres, Western Care Construction. And aside from all the traffic mitigation we've been talking about, expanding Sierra College 3 lanes, 1 lane going towards from Taylor Road to Interstate 80 will cut into our property and tear into our parking lot. And aside from that, the issues with the water runoff from COSTCO will drain into our storm drain on our property as well. And we haven't really been notified by anyone about that. So, and a third thing is on Sierra College, there's 1 left-hand turn lane. My employer actually paid for that. And with the expansion of 3 lanes on Sierra College, most likely that's going to go away. So we just wanted to be clear and up to date with what everyone's doing, just because we own 50 acres right there on Sierra College and Granite. So we would just like to be, aware of everything going on, especially with all the traffic. We're very, very aware of that issue, but the storm drain with the water hazard, with all the environmental impacts, with everything running off will go onto our property. So yeah, I just appreciate something on that. That'd be great. So thank you.
All right, thank you. So, okay, well, you could come up in public comment. There you go.
I feel like I need to be like, hi, I'm Angela, first timer. I'm off of Sounders here. So my question has more to do with the traffic that was brought up on the traffic study map, number 6, web. Relining, repainting. This needs a stop sign, 4-way, or a signal. It has for years. About 10 years or so ago, they made it right turn only, which has caused nothing but headache for those of us that live right here, especially during school hours. So when you're doing the traffic study to see how it's going to impact overall traffic, what times of the day are these studies being done? Is it 3 o'clock? Is it 5 o'clock? Is it 7 in the morning? Is it 3 in the morning? It needs to be realistic for those of us that live here and have to deal with this, because it seems like every kid is dropped off or they're driving their own vehicle. So you've got Del Oro, you've got Sierra College, businesses, and then the elementary school. It shouldn't take me 40 minutes to get from Saunders to Taylor and out to the freeway in the morning. And if it's after school, I just go down Saunders and out Bankhead, and then I've got a whole nother nightmare where the COSTCO is going to be. So, I mean, it's real. And then the people, we just had another accident 4 days ago, Webb and Saunders. That needs a stop sign, 3-way stop. There's been 4 accidents in the last couple of months, not including animals being hit, because people use this as a thoroughfare to avoid King to get home down that way. So there's more traffic, 12,000 cars. That's going to be a nightmare getting to and from work outside of town. So those are just my safety issues, more so.
Thank you, Angela.
Good evening, members of the commission. Miguel Yukovich, Loomis. I have a question also about the striping on Webb. I'm not too sure right now. We have a right turn lane, which is probably the best thing we ever did, because it would be people that wanted to go straight or left, and you'd wait all day on Webb. So I like the way Webb operates now. I go down it 3 or 4 times a day, and it works real well. I want to compliment COSTCO on their consideration of the traffic access and endpoints there. If you look at the one in Roseville, there's 4 access points. There's one on, there's 3 on Fairview and 1 on Galleria or Stanford Ranch Road. So there isn't any more than there is here, and that seems to work okay. So I want to compliment them. I'm also a little bit concerned about the architectural design of this building, the way it looks in front. It looks like the Roseville store, it looks like the Costco store, but it doesn't look like the El Dorado Hills store from what I can see in the pictures. So I would like them to upgrade their architectural design and get away from the flat. I know they said to put terraces, but I can't really see what they are. But the flat, block design of this building. I've seen some other Costcos where they look really nice, and I think they spend so much money and time already. They can either do some decorative concrete work. When you go up to Reno, there are interchanges and all. They've got some really neat things with cowboys and horses and along the sides of that. So I think they could do something there. But I want to compliment Costco for sticking with it. You have a great corporation, and as a former member of the council, I want to thank you and your staff, or the staff, for all the work they've done in Loomis. Thank you.
Okay. So would anybody else would like to give us their input? So, because if not, then what we'll do is we'll close the public session, and we're going to bring it back to the staff at this point. And the applicant has opportunity to kind of respond to the comments. So, Mary Beth, do you have a record of the comments? Are we going to read back the comments and have them answered, or Carol, do you have that?
What's that? Did you take notes of their comments to read them back? I have many notes.
Okay. Well, okay. I think Andy, you want to help us out here?
Yeah, I took
Answer some of the.
Let's hope I can.
Some of the comments, and maybe some of these answers might be consolidated. So
we'll try. First of all, regarding the traffic analysis and the mitigation, that is provided in the environmental impact report, and so my recommendation is get a copy of the EIR, read that, and then we're available to answer questions if anybody has questions. So the staff, Mary Beth, myself, if we need, we bring in the traffic consultants, and we can discuss how we got there and help somebody craft their response on the comments on the EIR. But definitely some of the comments about the studies and what was done really are appropriate once the EIR is released, and not so appropriate for tonight, since we're just talking about the design changes that have occurred.
Can I interrupt for 1 second? I think to the extent that Anders or staff are able to answer, that would be great. But what we can do is make certain that the notes are written up and answers are provided the next time this comes back to Planning Commission. So to the extent that you're comfortable with an answer right now, but some of them I think will probably require a little bit of review, because there's a lot of material related to this project.
We'll bring the answers back.
Yeah, I think if Andy is comfortable answering some, that's fine, but some of the other ones might have to wait and come back.
Okay, so that will be in the minutes then, is what you're saying?
Well, they can be, right, we can have them, we can put them in the minutes, but I think in terms of answers, we can certainly be prepared to come back with answers when the project actually comes forward.
So I think what we can is answer what we can. So
exactly.
One of the questions, and I'm not sure if this is with COSTCO or with Britt and Sean, is regarding the weeds on the COSTCO site.
We notified. Yeah.
Yeah.
regarding the weeds, I'll bring it up to my property management. I wasn't aware, so I'll get that corrected immediately.
Can I ask one question, though? When did COSTCO acquire the property?
July.
Yeah, so COSTCO's only owned it since July. That doesn't mean they shouldn't cut the weeds on it, but they weren't in a position to do anything over most of the last year.
All right, there were discussions about the Brace Road and traffic on it. Chris or Neelam, do you have that information, or do we need to do some more research on the amount of traffic that will be on Brace Road?
I think we can just put together a package.
Okay. So we will get back to the commission on that information. That is also actually in the EIR. So what we'll do is put the package together and reference where it is in the EIR. Okay. One of the things that I'm thinking, maybe Chris, you could, is discuss the improvements that are occurring to Brace Road. Just briefly, the improvements that are being proposed.
Okay, so for those that may not have heard, the question was, what are the improvements that are being made to Brace Road? Again, ultimately, it will depend on which of the three site access options is selected, but with respect to the Homewood property, I don't know if I have a pointer here. On Brace Road itself, thank you. Coming in from Sierra College Boulevard, there's an existing driveway to Homewood that has full access today, and there's the apartment driveway to the south. Both of those driveways would continue to have full access. What I was referring to with the right-in, right-out restriction in the median is basically along the area where there's back-to-back left turns today. There would be a raised median installed so that vehicle trips in and out of the COSTCO driveway would be restricted to right turns only. But traffic, for example, into the Homewood would still use the same left turn lane they do today to get into their property. The driveway on the east end, if it were approved to have full movement there, the roadway would be widened to provide a center left turn lane, and the widening along the Sierra, or along the property of COSTCO would be such that the turn lanes would be additional pavement from what's there today. So we're not at this point proposing restrictions to the on-street parking that is out there. That's a quick overview, and I think what you'll see in the actual documents next week is a more zoomed in view, so you can actually see the striping and where the driveways fall and where that median falls, so that folks that have homes right there and businesses can see the actual detail of what that striping looks like. It's obviously next to impossible to see at this scale.
So I'm Britt Snipes, the Public Works Director for Loomis, and I just want to address a couple of issues here on the intersection of Brace and Sierra College. That currently you cannot go straight through on Brace. That's got that raised median that's placed there. That's incumbent on this property owner and this property owner. When they develop those sites, they will be responsible to provide that access. It's not COSTCO's responsibility or this landowner's or even Homewood's responsibility to make that a full access intersection. There's no nexus for that. The Harmon property here, these improvements that we're proposing right now do not affect the left turn pocket that currently exists into that existing property. So there's no modifications to that. Just like we're requiring COSTCO to build the third lane and curb gutter and sidewalk on Sierra College Boulevard, that'll be incumbent on these landowners to build the third lane and curb gutter and sidewalk, those frontage improvements on that side of the road. We are building, this is a CIP project where we're adding the third lane and a bike lane from Taylor to Brace. and we're going to be doing some intersection improvements. We'll also, this southbound lane from Sierra College Boulevard as it comes up to Taylor, currently that's a right turn onto, it's a left turn onto Taylor, a through, and a right turn, a left turn, and a through. We're going to be doing a shared through right, so there'll be 2 lanes crossing on Sierra College Boulevard, 2 through lanes getting into this 3-lane section. This portion of Sierra College Boulevard is in ROCKLIN, so what ROCKLIN does with that is what is their call. It's their jurisdiction. It's their responsibility, I guess. So.
The western leg of Brace, is that in the city?
Oh, and yeah, and then that other question of who does Brace belong to through this section? The right-of-way is wide enough for the full build-out of Brace. Half of it is in Rockland, half of it is in Loomis. The half that is paved is in Rockland. So half of the road section has been built, and it was built by Rockland, and it belongs to Rockland. The section that's in Loomis has not been built yet. And we don't know if we're going to eventually build it out. There is some desire on Rockland's part to relinquish that back to the property owners and do away with that section of Brace. So we've never, those are just ongoing conversations that we're having with Rockland, but there's no decisions being made on that yet.
Brett, are there any issues with the issue of flooding was brought up on that one?
Yeah, sorry. Forgot my other hat. When COSTCO develops this property, it's standards now to mitigate stormwater. So they will have to put in facilities that mitigate the flows to be the same post-construction as they are pre-construction. So no additional water will be going across the street. It'll be mitigated.
Okay, thank you.
All right. There is a question about the number of cars that will be accessing COSTCO, and I would suggest that take a look at the EIR, but we will package that up. There was a question about the turn lanes into the COSTCO site, the one northbound, one southbound. So I thought, Chris, if you could just clarify that turn lanes into COSTCO.
So I'm not sure I entirely understand the question, but I'll just kind of walk through what's proposed. So at the signalized intersection that's serving the site, there is a single northbound right turn that's dedicated to come into the site. There is a single southbound left turn that's dedicated to come into the site. Leaving the site, there is a left turn lane, a second left turn lane, and a separate right lane. So 3 lanes out, and then 1 lane inbound at that signalized access. The Sierra College traffic coming south basically has the option to make a southbound left onto Brace and in, or they can come down to the signal and in. This access is single lane in, single lane out, and then the eastern access would be single lane in, single lane out. If the Granite connection were approved, that would also be a single lane in and out, with then widening improvements on Granite to create capacity down at that traffic signal for the left turn queuing.
Thank you.
Can you explain how that's going to work with our existing entrance on the east side of the apartments? COSTCO is saying they're not going to affect our current. How are you going to have COSTCO entrance right next to the apartment?
What was the question?
So we're
How are you going to have an apartment entrance right next to the COSTCO?
Oh, the question is, how will you have an apartment entrance next to the COSTCO entrance? At this point in time, that's closed, correct?
Depending on, so some options have it, some options don't.
So the apartments now have access directly off Brace. That is not changing. Currently, the apartments are using a public right-of-way which is called Starlight.
Excuse me, we need to limit open discussion. It's not part of our format, and I understand the questions. Yes, after, yes.
I may actually ask Jeff to discuss the right-of-way, the easement.
Okay. Well, you're asking the lawyer to talk about traffic, but
no, this is about owner the easement there at Starlight.
It'll be a long answer.
I can do that.
Yeah.
So I think what Chris is saying is there's a couple of different access options, but the access option that I think is the one we're describing on Brace, you would right now to get to the apartment you can turn off of Brace on the east side of the apartment. Right, and you can also turn off the west side of the apartment, and it's basically a U shape around. The eastern turn is technically not on the apartment's property; it's on city land. Well, technically, but I'm just saying. But my understanding is what COSTCO has proposed is to transfer a portion of property to the apartment so you'll continue to have a driveway there, separate from the driveway that goes into the COSTCO parking lot. So there will be two distinct entrances.
So this is an issue that we can meet with the property owner.
And that might be the best
offline.
answer because trying to do it with the graphics on the screen, it would be better to sit down and look at the large map and have Brett and Anders and Kittleson, whoever at COSTCO, to walk you through exactly how that access would be.
So I would suggest we do that after the EIR is released.
Yeah.
All right.
But that's my understanding is there will continue to be a separate access.
There was questions about mitigation for air quality, and again, that's in the EIR, but we can consolidate that into a response and show you where in the EIR that information is provided. I believe Britt has talked about what is called the Harmon property and the property there to the west of Sierra College Boulevard and access points, and I think Chris also discussed that the left-hand turn lane will remain. Also, I think the discussion about Brace discussed the access to Homewood that came up. Yeah, also, there is a discussion about West Brace and who owns that, which is half and half. There's questions about the downtown Loomis traffic and impacts to the region. Again, the environmental document does address those issues. And so the recommendation is what we'll do is summarize where those are found in the EIR when that comes out so that they can be reviewed. Then, there was a question about the traffic data used, and is that something you want to respond now or consolidate?
So this question was just in terms of the timing of when traffic counts and were we using data from 10 plus years ago. The traffic counts that were done for the study were basically all 2018, 2019 time period for the intersections. And the individual dates of those intersection traffic counts are documented in the technical appendix. So you can, once it's available, you'll be able to see the actual date of the traffic counts.
All right. Then there were discussions about the drainage on to the Harmon property, and Britt addressed that. Also, Britt addressed any third lane on in the town of, or the city of Rocklin would be the responsibility of the property owners and the city of Rocklin. And we also heard that there's some discussion that they would like a different facade on COSTCO. That's kind of my notes. There may be some more things as we get the official minutes that we can address, but primarily, I believe the EIR discusses most of these issues, and so our response to the commission will be where they're addressed within the EIR. And if I didn't cover something, you can remind me.
I think that covered everything that I had in my notes.
All right.
So Thank you. I know the answers, we make the best effort to answer these as completely and as great as detail as possible. They may seem a little bit broad, but a lot of the information in greater detail that people are looking for will be in the EIR. And those who do have some really specific issues with larger pieces of property or apartments, et cetera, would certainly need to schedule an appointment with applicants and, COSTCO in the town and try to hash out some of these questions in greater detail. Okay? All right. All right, thank you. I think we're done with the public comment in this section and the
Could
COSTCO
we
presentation.
let the people know what are the best ways for them to access the EIR, the draft EIR?
Mary Beth, it'll be posted on the town website.
It will be posted on the town's website. There's hard copies that'll be at Town Hall and at the Loomis Library. And you can purchase the document itself with a CD or a CD for $20.
Okay, all right, thank you, everybody. I think that concludes the COSTCO presentation for this evening. The next... Well, we're going to continue the meeting at this point. I don't know, and after the meeting, yes, absolutely. But that's kind of a sidebar. It'd be outside, not with our meeting is not done right now. So you would have to step outside and have a discussion. Is that, yeah, okay, tell you what, why don't we go ahead and we'll take a break. We'll take a 10-minute break, and that gives people opportunity to kind of mull around and make your contacts, okay? Well, 10-minute break. Thank you. What am I going to do? Oh, what is it? Is it not straight? Oh, that's not nice. Planning Commission meeting back to order. So I have to ask everybody if you would please bring your conversations outside if you're not going to join us in our meeting. There are no additional, there's no action items on our agendas, just a couple little real minor business items we're going to wrap up, which would only take maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll be done. But you're welcome to stay if you like. Thank you. Okay, so the next item was the Planning Director's report.
So you're giving me 10 minutes. You think I'm...
No, oh, I'm sorry. You can have more.
And it's her birthday.
That's right.
Yeah. 3 minutes, I'm done. No, I've been doing them printed for you, but this meeting I did not have that prepared, so I'll just give you my short list. Loomis Mill Group, which is the former WW Molding site, received their design review site plan application November 8th. So we're just starting to dive into that and looking at their parking layouts and things like that. So in a perfect world, it will be to you in December for approval.
Okay.
But it could be January. But, we're rolling it. So they're fast tracking. Town-wise, we had 4 people involved in Civic Lab through CEQA. Graduation from Civic Lab was October 31st, so we graduated with honors, and now we're just looking to see what kind of funding we get out of that. And it would be associated with our downtown master plan, however that rolls. So, woohoo. But we got our little diplomas and everything. So.
Good job.
Council approved the resolution for SB2 grant funding of $160,000 for our first round, and then in the spring we'll have another $60,000 available to apply for. So that's a good thing.
That's for the general plan update?
That's for general plan update, and we put a component in there for software, building permit software streamlining, where all departments can feed into one program for plan check, building permit issuance online, online payments and all of that kind of stuff. So there, 30,000 of the 160 is going towards that and permit streamlining. Council approved the social host ordinance. It came to you guys, you recommended the approval, so it went to them, they approved that. And they also approved the repeal and reenactment of our cannabis ordinance for no outdoor or no commercial grows. Let's see. Holiday closure. Council approved Town Hall being closed from December 23rd, so Christmas through New Year's, so Town Hall will be closed Christmas week, and then we come back on Thursday, January 2nd. And that's my short list.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next would be commission reports. Anything from the Planning Commission? Okay, nothing?
Town Talks in December is, I believe, economic development with Jamie Nisley, and then maybe some agritourism with Ramona ROCKLIN. And I'm sorry, that's the first Tuesday of December, so I don't know exactly what date that is.
First Tuesday of December, the 2nd. Oh, the 3rd. It's the 3rd. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Bonnie. And our, okay, so that concludes everything. I just wanted to remind everybody, I think our Planning Commission meeting got moved up to the 17th. Is that correct?
Yes, December
Okay.
17th.
At 7 o'clock. So 1 week early, the 24th is Christmas Eve, and that would be our regular meeting, so it'll be on the 17th. Okay.
Maybe you would like to join us in singing Happy Birthday to Mary Beth. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mary Beth. Happy birthday to you.
That's a nice way to end the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Hey, good answer.